every day that I wake up, I mean, it's another beautiful day. Different things that I really see, that I enjoy seeing. I never realized until lately, I mean, the trees, the flowers, the colors of the trees, I mean, the leaves of the trees, they're born, they live, they die. I mean, as far as it's amazing, is it? But the Rabbi Shalom, how everything works out exactly the way he wants it to work out, and to me, it's a wonderful feeling to be here.
There are many signs of life. Signs which are vital signs. Signs which make the difference between a life that is full and rich and one which is empty. The sign of Sabbath, Shabbos, is a sign which has existed for all time. One which binds the Jewish people to God, to the land of Israel, to the Beis HaMikdash. It's a sign for eternity. It's a sign of life.
How does one really know that they're headed in the right direction, especially on the highway of life? The signs are there. Sometimes you just have to look for them. Like flowers underneath a spring snow. Every spring in the city of Detroit, around the holiday of Passover, Rabbi Shlomo Chaim Gruskin, as a chaplain for the state of Michigan, would personally prepare matzah and other kosher food for Passover, which he would deliver to hundreds of Jewish patients in mental hospitals and out-of-the-way nursing homes. He would load the matzah and food in his car and deliver the goods himself. That is, until he met a man named Milton Olenek. M is for Michigan. It also stands for Milton. And when Rabbi Gruskin met Milton Olenek, the distribution of Pesach boxes changed in that Milton undertook the mitzvah with his family.
Rabbi Gruskin, he used to take care of the mental patients in the nursing homes and in the hospitals. And I think one year, it must be about 25 years ago, that I happened to be over at his house, and I seen all the matzah. He had boxes and boxes of matzah there. So I said, Rabbi Gruskin, what is all this matzah? He says, well, the fellow that usually delivers the matzah for me to the nursing homes, to the patients, is not able to do it this year. So I said, well, why don't I go ahead, me and my brother, we'll go ahead and we know everybody, we know the streets in the city, we can probably do it for you. So anyhow, I think there was about 200 and some deliveries at that particular Sunday. So my brother and I, each one of us got in a car, and we delivered most of the matzah that particular Sunday. From that Sunday on, every year, Rabbi Gruskin knew that I would deliver the matzah, and finally I took in my brothers. They came in to help me, and then my grandkids. We used to Shabbos, right after Shabbos, on Saturday night, we used to package up the packages.
He says to me, do you carry a revolver with you? I said, a revolver? What I need a revolver for? I got a beard. So he started to laugh. He says, no, seriously. He says, you know, in some of the places where these homes are for the Jewish people, it's very dangerous over there. He said, you should be carrying a revolver. I said, I'm not going to carry a revolver with me. He said, so therefore, I can do a better job for you.
Rabbi Gruskin and Milt sat down, and Rabbi Gruskin explained to my brother Milt that there was a lot of Jewish families in Detroit that never knew from Pesach or anything else like that, and would he be willing to, take matzah and different things. We started out with a few, and before you knew it, we had almost 200 names. That we used to go to nursing homes, we used to go to different residents and pass out the matzah. And my brother said to me, he said, it's good to be in a situation that you can do for others.
One Sunday morning in October 1979, Rabbi Gruskin received an unexpected phone call.
Hello? Milton, how are you?
It was Milton, calling from the hospital. Milton asked Rabbi Gruskin if he could come to the hospital, telling him that he was very ill. Rabbi Gruskin, being a good friend, said not only would he pray for Milton, but he would come over to the hospital as soon as he could. When they met, Rabbi Gruskin related that he felt that Milton was a kind-hearted person and had helped him a lot during the past few years. But rather than his praying for him, which he would, he told him that there was an advocate that he should consider asking to pray for him, someone whose prayers would be answered a lot faster than his would. When Milton asked who that was, wanting to contact him, Rabbi Gruskin said,
I want Shabbos to pray for you, Milton.
Shabbos? I don't know anything about Shabbos. How could Shabbos help me? How could Shabbos pray for me?
Shabbos. Let Shabbos be his advocate. He asked Milton to start keeping the Sabbath, to start keeping Shabbos. And in that merit, Shabbos would pray to the Almighty to heal him.
Milton, you're a kind-hearted person. You've helped me quite a lot. You, your brothers, your children.
Rabbi Gruskin told him that he would send him books that would introduce him to Shabbos and its observance, describing everything that he would have to do.
We love you, Milton. I hope to see you soon.
Thank you, Rabbi Gruskin. I'll think about it.
Daddy, is Milton okay?
He's very sick. We need to daven and pray for him.
He's such a nice man. He's always helping everybody. Is he getting better soon?
Not yet.
Hashem can do anything.
That's right, he can. Several days after Rabbi Gruskin brought the books, he dropped in for another visit.
They say the tumor is malignant. They want to operate right away.
And then he told Rabbi Gruskin,
And about our conversation, I've decided to keep the Shabbos, Rabbi Gruskin. I'll do it.
Milton pressed the call button for the nurse and sat until she arrived. When the nurse came in, he said to her,
Tomorrow's the Shabbos. It's my Sabbath. I don't want to have the TV playing. I don't want any calls coming through. It's a day of rest. And that's what I'm going to do tomorrow. I'm going to start observing the Shabbos, the Sabbath. If you can just make sure that those things are not on, I would appreciate it.
Okay, Milton, you're the boss.
Milton, let's shake on it.
with a bond of two friends who had tremendous love and respect for each other. Rabbi Gruskin came to visit Milton on the day of the operation. It was after 4 p.m. by the time he arrived at the hospital, and he was sure that the operation would have long been finished, with Milton already out of the recovery room. But he was not. Rabbi Gruskin thought that he perhaps might be in another room. he went downstairs to the surgical lounge, where he found Milton's family awaiting the news of Milton's condition.
He was just bleeding very profusely, and the doctor came out after a few hours of surgery and said that they didn't think he was going to make it through the night.
Dr. Leopold Eisenberg is an acclaimed oncologist, a friend of the family who treated Milton.
And as we studied this gentleman back then, we established a clear-cut diagnosis by means of a lymph node biopsy that we had done of one of his lymph nodes in the armpit, as well as eventually, because he had a basically ruptured of his spleen, he required an emergency operation to remove the bleeding spleen, and that also helped us in the diagnosis of lymphoma. So this is the way the diagnosis was established. But his prognosis was even worse because of all the complications that he had developed during his hospital stay. To the point that I may quote what some of the physicians said, he's basically a dead horse.
They took my husband into the intensive care, and the surgeon came into the hall where we were all waiting, and he just said, Mrs. Olenek.
The tumor was malignant as we had thought, but at this time that's not a problem anymore. We are having major difficulty in closing the incision. He's hemorrhaging very badly.
What are you telling me? What does that mean?
I'm sorry to tell you, but that means that your husband will not survive this night.
I guess I must have been in shock. He just, the way he said it, there was nothing that you could do. You just have to stand there. It's nothing that you're going to anticipate. That a person's going to have surgery and they're going to die right away.
At Rabbi Gruskin's shul, Tehillim, Psalms were said for Milton, and the name Raphael was added to his Hebrew name. It is commonly added to the name of a seriously ill person as a prayer and plea to God.
I remember that when he was very ill, that Rabbi Gruskin got the congregation together. We opened the Oren Kodesh, and he added a name to his name, and we prayed very hard for his well-being and speedy recovery.
But when things turned for the worse late that night, Milton's brother Arnold went to Rabbi Gruskin's house to ask him to return to the hospital to be with Milton and the family in Milton's last moments.
He had been there in the afternoon, but he said, "You need me, call me." I didn't want to call him in like 2 o'clock in the morning, so I picked myself up and I went over to his house. And I knocked on the door, and he came to the door and he says, the first thing he says, "Is Milt still alive?" I said, "Yeah, he's still alive." He says, "Give me 5 minutes, I'll be ready to go with you."
When he returned to the hospital, Rabbi Gruskin requested to see Milton. The doctors gave their consent, and Rabbi Gruskin quietly entered the room.
We were all crying because everybody loved him. At this time, the doctor said anybody can go to see him, he says, because it doesn't matter, he says. We don't know what's keeping him alive now. He says, really, he says, we're amazed that he's still living.
The boys were all there, his brothers and our children, and they took their stars off and put it on the bed with him.
We all took off our highs and stuff like that, and we'd put them on the side of the bed, and it was very strange.
We went up in intensive care, and Milt was there, and he looked at Milt, and Milt's eyes opened wide the first time.
Do you want us to pray? Do you want us to pray for you?
And he wrote on a piece of paper, "I want the breathing machine, take it out of my mouth." So we all talked to the doctors, and he says, "When we take it out, we can't put it back in. We cannot put it back in. You're taking a chance." So he says, "We would rather take a chance."
And I remember him sitting, they took the tube out and he sat up in the bed and he said, "I'm going to be okay."
When Rabbi Gruskin came out of the room, he came in, he says, "Milt wants to see." He came in and he stood, he couldn't get up all the way, he just kind of lifted his back up and says, "Don't worry, I'll be okay."
To everyone's surprise, Milton opened his eyes, looked up, and began speaking. They had to strain to hear him. But he told everyone that they could go home, that he was going to be all right. But he asked Rabbi Gruskin to please stay. He told him that he would be the only one who would understand what he was about to say and where he was. And he said that the truth was that since the operation, he had not been on this world, but that he had been in heaven.
He kind of expressed to us a dream that he had. And in this dream, he told us that he had seen everybody at his bedside doing what we described we were doing, and he pictured himself floating away from his body down a tunnel. And he said it was a tunnel that was getting really narrow, and he was going fast down there.
Come on in there, come on in, and I says, I don't want to go.
And at a certain point, he came to these gates, and these gates opened up, and from behind the gates walked out what he described were something like angels. And these angels had said to him that when he wakes up, if he sees his friend Rabbi Gruskin, he will be all right. He will survive.
Rabbi Gruskin looked at Milton dubiously. It sounded like the effects of anesthesia to him. But Milton insisted. I know what it sounds like, he said, but it's the truth. And Milton said that when he opened his eyes and saw Rabbi Gruskin, he knew that he was going to live. Milton thanked Rabbi Gruskin for praying for him. He told him that it saved his life. Rabbi Gruskin took hold of Milton's hands and told him, "No, Milton, it wasn't me. It was Shabbos." Milton remained in the hospital for nearly 7 months, and when he left, he weighed a mere 128 pounds. And 21 years after the handshake that began Milton's commitment, Rabbi Gruskin and Milton joined hands and hearts again together at Rabbi Gruskin's grandson's wedding in Lakewood, New Jersey.
Hashem, the big Elam, has been good to us. I say to you, Milton is here. I'm going to ask him to stand up and
A celebration of life and friendship, kindness and commitment. In fact, it was on that very day, 21 years before, that Milton had been operated on. And now, over 2 decades later, the two danced joyously together, celebrating life.
I definitely believe that there was a miracle that led to all this. The guidance of the Rabbi Shalom.
Milton's story shows us that a person's faith can defy the statistics that doctors and medical studies will give a patient. A person may be told that he only has a certain amount of time to live, but his faith and his turning to God, saying, God, you're the one who controls life and death, not the medical statistics, will allow that person to be recovered and healed beyond what may be expected medically. We are messengers to do what we can, and we do good things. But ultimately, we have to recognize where true healing ultimately comes from.
I'm a physician and a hardcore scientist, but I have always believed in God and in the miracles God can do. And having learned about the miracle of Milton, how this man miraculously outdid his statistical expectations and survived for decades, disease-free, from a very severe case of lymphoma, suggests to me nothing short of a miracle. Yes, there was absolutely good medicine and good chemotherapy, but having spoken to Milton's medical oncologist and knowing how poor his prognosis was and how ill and critically ill he was during his hospital stay, and how this man rallied back and lived disease-free for decades suggests to me more than just good medicine. And I believe in Milton's case, his newfound belief and his finding of Shabbos and keeping the mitzvah of Shabbos and his optimism about Shabbos and how Shabbos would pray for him and save him did.
There is a lesson in this for all of us. Take it to heart. There is an Almighty, and sometimes we are in a good position to have Him listen.
Carried on the wings of whispered prayer, Milton understood that Shabbos is a powerful advocate on high for those that keep its laws. For more than 20 years, he's continued acts of kindness, enjoying his family and friends, watching his grandchildren grow, and celebrating life with his best friend, his wife, Crew.
I think she's the most wonderful person in the world. God was good to me. The last 21 years of my life is like being born again. The things that I've seen in the last 21 years can never be captured. I mean, as far as I can never buy it. Nobody can buy it. I mean, for all the money in the world. As far as I'm concerned, I'm very fortunate. And as far as Shabbos, Shabbos is a wonderful day. Rabbi Shalom has given me more pleasure in the last 21 years than I can imagine. And Mirza Hashem is every day to me is a blessing.
The sun is going down, it's shining through the trees. Another week's gone by, become a memory. So throw away your hammer, there's nothing left to do. Go on home and find the gift that's waiting there for you. Oh, it's time to say good Shabbos, 'cause all your work is done. Gonna spend the day together with the Holy One. Say a special blessing on a cup that's filled with wine. Man and his Creator, it's a very special sign. Your candles will be burning, they'll fill your home with light, singing songs of Shabbos well into the night. So throw away your hammer, there's nothing left to do. Go on home and find a gift that's waiting there for you. Oh, it's time to say good Shabbos, 'cause all your work is done. Gonna spend the day together with the Holy One. Say a special blessing on a cup that's filled with wine. Man and his Creator is a very special sign.
It's amazing, isn't it? With the Rabbeinu Shalom, how everything works out exactly the way he wants it to work out. To me, it's a wonderful feeling to be here.
If this story moved you, then let us move you a little further. The power of prayer and faith can change despair into hope and transform illness and pain into renewed life. Like Milton, you too can tip the scales of heaven. It happened to him, and it can happen again. And that's not religious psychobabble. It's something real, and it can make a difference in your life and the life of a family member or a friend. Find out more about these concepts and how it can make a difference and perhaps tip the scales. Call us at this number or reach us at our website and go home and find the gift that's waiting there for you.
Spend time with your family, say good Shabbos, 'cause all your work is done. Gonna spend the day together with the Holy One. Say a special blessing